animated short Nightlight explores the fragile space between light and dark, between what we see and what we fear might be lurking in the shadows. At the center is Eva Hernandez, a young hero in training with a dream to prove she can be a force for good. But there's one problem. She's the daughter of the infamous supervillain, Shadow Spitter. Her father's dark legacy casts doubt on everything she does. This is how the story of the capstone project Nightlight begins, an animated short film which blends 3D animation with carefully placed 2D impact moments that pay homage to classic superhero comics. The student team behind this capstone crafted a visual language where every moment, every frame heightens tension and amplifies emotion. Eva's journey is a dance between fear and courage, past and future, darkness and light. This isn't just a story about heroism. It's about identity, tenacity, and the discipline it takes to rise above expectations and forge your own path. Tonight, we turn on the Nightlight. Welcome to Behind the Magic, the official podcast of the Miami Animation and Gaming International Complex here at Miami-Dade College, where we explore the stories, technologies, and creative journeys shaping the future of animation, gaming, and immersive media. I'm your host, Brenna Werner, and today we're joined by the student production team behind the capstone animated short, Nightlight, a project developed through a studio-style production pipeline combining story development, 3D animation, and selective 2D impact frames. Today, we'll talk about the creative vision behind the film, how the team navigated production challenges, and what they learned preparing a professional-level animated short for screening and premiere. Welcome, Kat, to the Behind the Magic podcast. We're so excited to have the director of Nightlight with us today.
Thank you. I'm honored to be here.
Wonderful. Well, I'm going to jump right into it because I'm super excited to ask you questions about your animated short. What was the original idea that inspired this project?
So I don't think it's a secret from anybody who knows me that I'm like super into this one animated show called Lego Monkey Kid. And one of the characters is the six-eared macaque, and he has shadow powers. And I really, really like the shadow powers that he uses. So a lot of like just the way that he uses shadows were directly inspired in both Eva and Shadow Spinner, our hero and antagonist.
Wow, I love that you're inspired by other great animated works. Definitely Dr. Facilier from Princess and the Frog also comes to mind as well.
I think some others. I have always been into superhero stuff as a kid. My favorite comic period is Hawkeye, the 2012 edition. I love the colors and all of that.
My favorite is Spider-Man. I've always loved, when Stan Lee first pitched Spider-Man, they told him, oh, no one will like that. Everyone hates spiders. And, the superhero should be somebody who is like a paragon of men. He shouldn't be like an awkward, nerdy teenager with flaws. But look how that changed.
Personally, I think the paragon of men is human disaster Peter Parker, but what do I know?
I second that for sure. And Nightlight is going to be the next among these wonderful League of Heroes.
Yep.
Let me ask next, were there any key turning points where feedback significantly changed the direction of your film?
Trying to think. Maybe when we were originally pitching it wasn't exactly anybody's feedback. It was our own thoughts. Ava was originally a shadow clone. And this shadow clone character, like, she was going to imprint off of her original foster father, Felix. We had that whole character. And we thought maybe it's going to be a little bit too complicated to explain in both a 2-minute short and to the people we were pitching to. And we thought that might lower our chances. We went the direction of making her the daughter. In terms of actual production, there were a few things that had to get changed. Like, originally, the tryouts were a lot more full. There were going to be students there, but with a 3D production, it's a little bit harder to get that many characters in and modeled, obviously. And also, it took up a little bit too much time. That's also why Felix as a character was cut, because it was going to take up too much time. It would clutter the whole thing.
Wow, well, that's really great that you guys were able to kind of adapt and be flexible and make those kind of decisions to prioritize what was most important. I think that, the father-daughter dynamic between Ava and Shadow Spinner ended up being really strong. And I think that, those extra superheroes in the background, while they would have been nice for the set, I feel like they're not as crucial to the story as the relationship between those two. So I think you guys did a great job of knowing what to cut down and what to emphasize.
Yeah.
Were there any key turning points where feedback significantly sorry what themes or emotional experience did you want audiences to take away from your film?
I think I remember part of it was like I thought about Encanto's whole like familial trauma stuff. It's Ava's basically breaking the cycle of her family. Her dad before him, dad blah blah blah. All of them were supervillains, and she doesn't want to be a supervillain. She doesn't want to cause pain and hurt. She wants to break that cycle and be someone new. So that's one of the things we had thought about a lot, that who you come from doesn't determine who you are. And just not judging a book by its cover and not, yeah.
Wow, I really love that meaning behind your story. I always felt like, the shadows, right? It kind of represents Ava being in her father's shadow, and then her as Nightlight being the light in the dark, being like this light breaking through that darkness.
The shadow part, actually. So, Mikey, who can't be here today, he sends his regards.
Mikey and Matt very much, the other director.
So this specific scene is Mikey's baby. He has fought for it the entire way through. There is a scene that Ava is jumping off the building and into Shadow Spinner's shadow. Originally, that scene had her pop back out and beat her father. It was a lot more in your face, but instead, it's still there, but now instead of her beating her father, it made more sense that she helped Shadow Spinner, that she chooses her own destiny by literally getting out of her father's shadow, using it as a portal to her own place.
That's a perfect creative choice, because it really speaks to the message of your short, right? If she would have chosen to fight him and defeat him physically, she kind of would have been no better than him, right? So by choosing light and by choosing heroism and by saving Captain Strong, I think that you brought your story full circle. So
it also leads into the fact that it's issue 0. So it makes sense that in quote unquote future issues, her dad would still be the major villain.
That's another thing I really love, is your homage to comics, right? How you called it issue 0, because that's something that would happen in traditional comic books, for those who don't know out there. So I think that's also really interesting, all the ways that you pay homage to superhero comics, your impact moments, the talk bubbles, all the speech patterns and automatopoeia. That's really, really fun in your short as well. As for the next question, can you walk us through the production workflow your team followed, and all the way from animatic to the current animation?
Oh boy, yes. So we have our team. We had our team split into separate groups, working on all different stuff. It mostly, according to Mauricio, we were ahead of the game, and we didn't know that. Professor Science really psyched us out and making us think we were behind. We had everyone. We were working on both the textures, rigs at the same time after the character models were done. We had a little bit of a delay with the character models. God bless our character modelers, because they got that done in a week, a little bit over a week, and they did a really good job, and I'm very proud of them for that.
Okay. So what were the biggest technical challenges in integrating 3D animation with those selected 2D animated scenes?
Making it flow. There are some times that we were scared it was going to be awkward. There was this entire period of time that we were thinking of a To Be Hero X, actually, that we wanted to make the entire fight scene 2D. Like, kind of like based on like when Ava was winning. So whenever Ava was winning, it was 2D. And then Shadow Spinner punched her out of it, and it went back to 2D one more time, went back to 3D, then back to 2D at the end. That wasn't feasible. Just in terms of, we started animation this semester. It's not going to be feasible to make that much 2D animation in that much time. As much as I personally wanted to do it, if we wanted that much 2D, we would have had to like start really early in last semester. And it was just too much for the whole team to do. So we thought about things, how we could implement that 2D more smoothly. Of course, Shadow Spinner's eyes we're gonna make 2D, but also the portals are gonna be a 2D asset, and we have the basically impact frames, like wow, pow, pow, blah, 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 all of that stuff when a character gets hit or it's like a super key moment and you want to get like shocked out of the action. That's when we have 2D. So we have our current 2D aspects are the big boom, and we have actually like a cool comic cut in that was one of the main concerns of the how it flowed, because most of them flowed well except for that boom, because we added the whole lip syncing of dad there, and that's kind of where things got shaky. We were experimenting with smoke, our mentor Drew was actually telling us she doesn't think it wasn't going to work, and I was like, what if we do like a 2D comic slide-in?
Yes.
I think that, and we did that, we tested that, and that's in our newest animatic, because that's actually a very recent addition, and it worked. We think it worked very well, and we also changed shot 8 and shot 9 and reversed them, so instead of seeing Eva in 3D right after that, you see Shadow Spinner. So it makes it a lot easier to digest.
I really like the 2D animation sliding in, because it's like a panel in a comic book. So it really brings your creation full circle. The fact that it has 2D animation, 3D animation, and then those stills that kind of replicate the experience of reading a comic book.
Yeah,
That's really fabulous.
the 2D animation was something we really fought for. From the start, we originally had wanted to get 2D, but we got 3D, and we're like, okay, we can work with this. But we were super adamant of getting those 2D scenes, not only because we just really like 2D, but I personally have 2D animation knowledge, and I was like, I want it in. I think this could work. I think this could be cool, and it would visually make a cool experience and blend those two together. And the rest of the team was also like, yeah, we like that, and we like how we think it will work. And we also wanted to pay homage to all those like 2D stuff. Like something I was thinking about specifically was Moon Girl Devil Dinosaur. Spider-Verse also has a lot of 2D in it. And I was thinking of Spider-Verse a lot as well, and that's something why I really wanted it in.
Those are excellent references, and I mean, I'm very passionate about 2D animation as well, so I think it's so great that you guys, while getting selected for a 3D capstone, were still able to integrate, the 2D animation into it. That's absolutely fantastic. With regards to the mentor critiques and production reviews, how did it help improve the storytelling clarity and the animation timing?
Drew has been a saint with us. There's a lot of times that she's been really patient with us, but she's also taught us so much. Professor Sayas basically said we are like traumatized by Drew, because we were actually talking with Foster's team, and like we helped Foster's team with what we knew about the storyboard and all that, about the animatic, because Drew taught us a lot, made sure to hone in the 180 rule, which is a big thing, but also how many cuts there were and how many shots. She gave us a strict 30 shots. We couldn't go over that. And we were like, okay, how are we gonna do this? So the animatic went through a lot of changes. There were a lot of scenes cut. Well, not scenes. There were a lot of shots cut. Originally, Captain Strong was, when he got restrained, we were gonna have it like cut in several different places to show that impact, and that got cut. I'm a little sad about that one getting cut, but she did make a good point. It shows it's not just an actual short film production, but it's also a student learning experience. If we left that scene intact and not cut everywhere, it gives the animator time to actually character act and show off what they have. And that was some really good insight that made us change how we were thinking about the whole thing. What she also helped with is that we cut out, we did actual storyboarding, actually physically. So we cut out all the panels, we left it on the board, it was there for like months, and we just rearranged everything. Drew helped us with that, but we weren't totally done, so there were a few times we would just go into the conference room, change some stuff to make it really flow. And I think the short film flows so much more naturally now. Drew has helped us with so much, helped us see so much with what we could add to the storyboard, make sure what looks wonky, what would actually work, what wouldn't work. There were also times we thought something can work, and we had to know what times we wanted to fight for a specific shot or a specific way of doing things. And I think overall it made everything look a lot better.
Well, I can't agree more. I think it's so wonderful that you guys were able to benefit so much from, the expert industry knowledge of a representative from Disney, such as Drew Tolman. And you guys have done a great job of being very receptive to her feedback and applying it every week. So,
Drew's been the best.
oh, that's wonderful. You guys have been the best in turn as well. And with regards, okay. Do you think that working under this milestone production with all of these deadlines that it prepared you better for a studio production after graduation?
Yes, absolutely. I think it taught me a lot about what I need to focus on, how harsh deadlines are. It also reminded me a little bit my high school teacher. He taught us at a little college pace. So we would have our AP classes, and we had 3 classes to get an entire piece done. 3 classes, then that's it. It prepared me a little bit for how brutal the workflow was going to be, but it's something managing yourself, another managing an entire team. And I think I've learned a lot from that. There have been times I've been a little bit too harsh, the others will say, and other times I've been a little bit too lenient, letting people walk over me. It's a balance you have to strike, and you also just can't just go to your team. You have to go to the leads first, because if you go to the team and not to the lead is in the dark about that. And that's something I didn't really realize and did cause a few hiccups in the production. And it's something I've learned why the flow goes the way it does.
Wow. Yeah, it's definitely so many different facets coming together, right? So many different students and different roles. And I think that that's great that you learned how to kind of navigate that hierarchy, and it prepares you definitely for.
I think a lot of us, Mikey and Bat aren't here, but I also learned this, that sometimes you also have to be a team player. You can't do everything yourself. I think all 3 of us had really thought we really wanted bigger hands in the production to do things ourselves, and I think we had to learn. It was a learning moment for us in the first semester that we can't do everything ourselves, that whether it be our own schedules or just needing to let other people take over, especially with how much we have to do. It's something we had to learn, because I think a lot of us weren't I wasn't too keen on giving away my baby that easily, but it's something you kind of have to do, especially as the workload piles on. You got to let other people help, and you got to trust that they're going to know what to do. And I put my trust in my team, and it's paid off so far.
I think that's really mature of you that you were able to kind of relinquish control a little bit and allow others' creativity and input to also become part of it and shine. It sounds like Drew and your other teammates really contributed to the success of the project.
Yeah, shout out to Layla. Shout out to Layla and Layla, Sarai, and Blizz for being some of the backbone of everything that's going on.
Absolutely. You guys all work so cohesively, and it's honestly inspirational for me as your secretary to witness every day. With regards to the biggest lessons that your team learned throughout this collaboration and communication, what would you say is the main takeaway?
Well, I think I answered that question a little bit too early. Just basically everything I said, having to relinquish control at times, but also learning how to fully manage a team. I know we've had some troubles with the class and how we specifically manage the team, but it's also, we're students as well. And it's something that everyone's had to learn, that we're all students and we're all learning how. There's definitely been some hiccups, like I said, that I would go to the team members directly rather than the leads. And we've learned a lot through that, like how managing is. I never thought managing was easy, but this has taught me just how difficult it is to manage a team and cohesively put it together. There's been a lot of sleepless nights that I'm trying to figure stuff out, and I've gotten a lot of help from the rest of the team.
Wow, I feel like the team management was also the biggest, hardest part of production when I did my own capstone. So I certainly relate to everything that you're sharing.
Yeah.
You guys have done a great job of navigating it together.
Thank you.
What advice would you give to future Magic students that are starting their capstone animation projects? Ooh.
Trying to phrase this in a way that's both funny and not scary. Get a therapist. No, but actually, it's actually really relieving to talk to somebody about everything going on that's not involved in it, and letting you step back and like hearing what somebody not in it has to say and like helping you manage that. People don't realize how big of an effort it is to manage a capstone and how much it takes a toll on you. It has taken a big toll on me. There's some gray hairs in here. But
too.
I would also say, are we talking about just future capstone leaders or pitchers as well? Because I think you got to have a solid idea of what you're doing. There's a lot of things we didn't think about beforehand. Like we didn't think about texturing a lot beforehand, how we wanted texturing, how specifically the style was. And I wouldn't put your eggs in one basket. Do not expect to get 2D because then you're going to get 3D. And if you do have all those like style things figured out, how is that going to translate to 3D?
I see.
And it's something you got to think about, like how you also, oh my God, before I forget, make sure you ask your riggers for specifics. I had never realized I had to ask the riggers for, oh, can the eyes widen and shrink? How make sure you ask your riggers for stuff 100%. Don't just assume they're going to do things because I made the fatal mistake.
Wow, modeling, rigging, texturing, audio effects, art. There's so many different parts to manage in the team. So
yeah,
I definitely think that that's some great advice.
It does help to have a style guide, like have an in-depth style guide on how you want things done, because then you can show people to refer to that. And if you have that done beforehand, before you actually start doing the capstone, then that takes a lot of work off your hands because you already have that figured out. You don't have to spend more time getting that done.
Absolutely. Wow, that's some really great insight that I think any future magic student can definitely benefit from. I have a couple rapid fire questions for you now.
Boy.
Okay, so brace yourself. First, one animation skill. Sorry, I'm gonna start it over. All right, Kat. Now I have some rapid fire questions I'm gonna shoot at you. One animation skill every student should master.
Storyboarding.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I'm a storyboarding OG. I love storyboarding. You will never catch me like dissing storyboarding. That's what I want to go into specifically.
Your storyboard was very impressive. Your animatic, it was almost like a finished production, even at the pitch stage.
I actually, in my free time, I like to make fan animatics of things that I like, and I just have fun with that. So that's why my parts of the animatic were as polished as they were, because I was like, oh, this is easy. I'll do what I do for fun. I can pump out a 20-second animatic in like, I don't know, 2 hours. Actually, I did that once. I stayed at school early and then left a little bit late, and I had a full animatic done.
Wow, you see, I feel like that's my favorite part about both your production and you as a director is your fun and your passion. It's absolutely shining through.
Animatic and storyboarding are just fun. I don't know what to say. Also, invest in Toon Boom skills. I love Toon Boom.
I love Toon Boom too. And I feel like pre-production is also my favorite part of the process. So we definitely share that.
It's a lot less stressful than actual production.
Right? It's fun to ideate and dream and think up all these ideas, but then there's the actual execution.
You still have hope in your eyes.
Exactly. And how about a tool or software that made your production possible? See, we didn't even have time to finish the question.
Realistically, Maya. Substance Painter. But I'm biased and my shot is a 2D shot, and I'm going to say Toon Boom because nobody else who's here can stop me.
I worked with Toon Boom in my own capstone as well, so it's definitely an industry standard and instrumental to
it's genuinely just like easy to use. Okay, it's not easy to use. I'm lying there. It's once you actually have it mastered, you can pick up individual lines and move them. Do you know how useful that is?
I love that feature.
I don't have to redraw anything, or I don't have to lasso around the lines and get little itty bits of things. It's great.
I love that about it as well. And how about the most valuable lesson you learned during this project?
That's a tough one. Manage your time, manage what you do. Don't go into it and Professor Saya says I have a tendency to hummingbird around everywhere. Mm-hmm. Get organized. Get really organized. Make a list. Make sure to delegate people to certain things. Don't hummingbird everywhere because then you're going to forget 12 seconds later. You're going to be like, oh, okay, I need to tell the texturing team this. And then somebody else calls you. Then somebody else calls you. And then you forget to tell the texturing team.
That definitely happens to me too. I can definitely hummingbird as well, but I set alarms, I make schedules, I add things to my calendar, and it really helps me stay focused.
It comes with the ADHD territory.
Right? I'm with you, Kat. No worries.
Maybe that's why some of our production's a little disorganized, because all three of us have ADHD.
It's organized chaos, and I'm totally here for it. I actually really love that. And lastly, if you had additional time, what would you expand on or improve in your film?
Additional time to produce or additional time in the film?
Both.
Additional time.
If you were unbridled,
Additional time, assuming it's unlimited, make it into an actual story, like an actual series. Give Ava, actually, we had a cut character. Ava, originally, I was going to give her a best friend type character who was also a love interest. And she was going to have like light themed powers to contrast with Ava's dark powers. So if we had more time or got to do another one, I'm adding her in, and I'm bringing Felix back. We're so upset that we cut Felix.
I really relate to that a lot as well, because during my own capstone production, Balanced Breakfast, we had Princess Sweet and Sour and Salty, and I wanted that final flavor, the bitter, right? The coffee, the darkness, the goth girl of the breakfast to be there representing
Everything gets better with an emo girl.
I know, right? She was almost like everybody's favorite, but of course, with Nickelodeon's guidance and mentorship, I also had to make those tough decisions and cut back. But hopefully, you and I both make our series possible one day, and we'll get the whole cast.
If we also had more time, I'd love to do more scenes with one-on-one with Captain Strong and Shadow Spinner and really delve into their dynamic.
Spicy. Well, that sounds very exciting and very fun, Kat. It's been an absolute delight interviewing you today. Thank you so much for being here on Behind the Magic.
Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you to the Nightlight production team for sharing your experience and giving us a behind-the-scenes look at creating a student animated short inside the Magic program. And thank you to everyone listening to Behind the Magic. Be sure to follow the Miami Animation and Gaming International Complex to stay connected with our students, projects, and upcoming episodes. We'll see you next time.